Thanks for joining me today for another episode of A White Woman in Distress. This podcast is about raising awareness for missing kids, teens, and adults. My goal is to help spread the word and find those who are missing. We need to come together as a community to help find these people. We need to stop ignoring what we see and start looking out for each other. I understand that you want to stay safe, but it's important to speak up when you notice something's wrong. If someone you loved was missing, you would want people to help. People who think, this can never happen to me. You really need to understand that it can happen to anyone. Every single day, children, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, etc., they all go missing. You don't have to put yourself at risk. You can always call in tips anonymously, and then if they ask your name, just tell them that you want to remain anonymous. Our goal should ultimately be to bring everyone home safely, because that's what we would want if our loved one was missing. Everyone deserves to know what happened, and families deserve closure. This content may discuss violence, sexual assault, and murder, which may be distressing to some. Listener discretion is also advised. In today's episode, we will explore the events surrounding Connie's disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the lasting impact that this unresolved case has had on all of those who are involved. The life of Connie Smith, who was born into a prominent family in Wyoming. Her grandfather, Niels H. Smith, had served as the state's governor, and her father, Peter Smith, was a successful rancher. Connie was known for her adventurous spirit, charm, and a deep love for animals, particularly horses. Her independent nature and love for the outdoors made her well suited for summer camp life. In the summer of 1952, Connie had attended Camp Sloane, a YMCA camp in Salisbury, Connecticut. Now, in this quiet town of Lakeville, Connecticut, in the summer of 1952, it ended up being a chilling mystery that would remain unresolved to this day. This is where 10-year-old Connie Smith, who was from Wyoming, vanished. This was not Connie's first time away from home. She was well-traveled for her age, and she was very comfortable in new environments. Despite her initial homesickness, which makes sense because a lot of kids who do go to summer camp want to go home. Most of them, it's usually the first couple of days. However, for some, it just never goes away, and they're just homesick the whole time. She had adapted well to camp life, and her mom even visited her on July 14th, just 2 days before her disappearance. Her mother had found her in very high spirits. Connie even asked if she could extend her stay at the camp, although she wasn't upset when her mother declined. So this is the day that she disappeared, or at least the timeline that they have. On the morning of July 16th, 1952, an altercation with several other female campers resulted in Connie getting a bloody nose. After the incident, she had told her tent mates that she was skipping breakfast to return the ice pack to the camp dispensary that she had gotten. The ice pack had been given to her the previous evening after she bruised her hip from falling out of her tent. However, instead of going to the dispensary, Connie left the ice pack in her tent and just walked away from the camp, which seems very mysterious to me because none of the counselors or anyone stopped Connie and just asked where she was going. I understand that she had told her campmates, but that doesn't mean that everybody knew where she was going. Connie was seen by multiple witnesses that day. She was spotted picking daisies along Indian Mountain Road, and she even was witnessed asking for directions to Lakeville, Connecticut, which was only about half a mile from Camp Sloane. Despite claims that she was homesick, her mother's recent visit suggested she was really happy at camp, and there was no reason to suggest that she would just run away. The last confirmed sighting of Connie was by a husband and wife who saw her hitchhiking near the intersection of U.S. Route 44 and Belgo Road. She was reported missing by camp counselors 3 hours after she had left camp. So the investigation for Connie was very extensive. Police, volunteers, and even aircraft from Westover Field in Massachusetts participated in her search. They searched the woods, they searched the roadways. They, of course, asked for witnesses, and all of these people did come forward. But despite all of these efforts, no trace of Connie was found. The investigation faced numerous challenges, primarily due to the time period's limited resources and the fact that they don't have technology like they do today. The 1950s relied heavily on manual searches, public appeals, and rudimentary investigation methods. Suspects and theories over the years have been all over the place. So, over the years, several theories and suspects have emerged. One significant suspect in Connie's disappearance was William Henry Redmond, a former carnival worker. Redmond had been charged with murder of an 8-year-old, Jane Marie Althoff, in 1951, a year before Connie's disappearance. In the 1980s, he had allegedly confessed to another prison mate that he had killed 4 people during his lifetime. Despite this confession, authorities were unable to place Redmond in Connecticut around the time of Connie's disappearance. And he even passed a polygraph test concerning her case, which, even up to this point today, polygraphs can still be considered admissible in court because there are reasonable doubts about how accurate it truly is, because people can lie and still get away with it. Redmond died in 1992 without any conclusive evidence linking him to Connie's disappearance. Now, another lead had emerged in 1958 when hunters in Arizona discovered the skeletal remains of an unidentified child whom is known as Little Miss X. In 1962, the Connecticut State Police received an anonymous letter claiming that Little Miss X was actually Connie Smith, which I also found insane because how did she get to Arizona from Connecticut? Once they compared dental records, though, the results came back inconclusive and the remains have since been lost, which seems wild to me because how do you lose skeletal remains if you put them in evidence, which, it's under lock and key, so not just anybody can walk in and say, hey, let me look at the evidence. So it's really suspicious to me. I just feel like somebody else knew what was going on, and at this point, they could have got paid to just take the evidence from lockup and never take it back. Because I don't know if they kept logs. I don't know if this person logged the evidence out and they never brought it back, or I don't know. There's plenty of theories that can be wrapped around it. To understand the impact of Connie's disappearance, it's important to consider the cultural and historical context of the time. In the 1950s, it was a period marked by a strong sense of community, but it was also a certain level of just everyone being naive regarding the dangers that could befall children, which is crazy to me because, why wouldn't you want to protect your children? So hitchhiking, even for a 10-year-old girl, was not seen as unusual or highly dangerous, which also, again, that's wild to me because a child trying to hitchhike, I don't know. This context adds to the tragedy of Connie's disappearance, as her actions that day might have seemed so innocent and routine to those around her. The impact on Camp Sloane and the community since her disappearance was profound. The camp, which was known for its idyllic setting and emphasis on building character and independence in young campers, was forever changed by the incident. Parents once trusting of sending their children to summer camps without a second thought began to question the safety and the supervision provided in such environments, which I don't really understand why it wasn't before. The local community was left reeling, with many joining the search efforts and holding on to hope that Connie would be found. The emotional toll on Connie's family was immense. Her mother, Helen, had died of a heart attack in 1961, never knowing what happened to her daughter. Peter Smith, her father, was deeply affected by the loss, and he continued searching for answers until his death in 2012. He often imagined seeing his daughter in the faces of women around her age, holding on to hope that one day she might return. And that's so sad that he died without knowing what happened to his daughter, because all he was searching for was closure. He just wanted to know what happened to his 10-year-old little girl, who he sent off to camp and didn't even think that something like this could happen to him. The media did play a significant role and continues to play a significant role in keeping Connie's story alive. Though coverage wasn't as instantaneous and widespread back then as it is today, it was still around, but who knows how long it took for it to even get around and how far it went. Local newspapers regularly updated the public on the search efforts in Connie's case. Her case became a focal point in discussions about child safety and missing children. The public's response was one of deep concern and empathy, with many people across the region participating in search efforts and offering support to the Smith family. And recent developments, Detective Caroline Keith of the Western District Major Crime Squad currently oversees the case. Advances in forensic technology and investigative methods continue to provide hope that new leads might surface. DNA evidence from unspecified sources have been entered into the police database, which could potentially identify any remains found in the future. But since the case evidence from Little Miss X is gone, there's no way to even test her DNA to what they have in the database currently, which is so upsetting, because with those remains gone, that means that they can't test it to any DNA in there. So any missing child, any missing female child, could be Little Miss X. We will never know who it is unless those remains are found. Although Connie's case has gone cold, it remains open, and investigators are still actively seeking any information that could bring resolution to this mystery. The disappearance of Connie Smith is a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring hope for answers. Despite the passage of time, her case remains open, and those who care continue to search for the truth. Connie's story is a testament to the relentless search for justice and the unbreakable bonds of a family. If you have any information about Connie Smith's disappearance, no matter how small, or even if you think it's very insignificant or very minor, just contact the Connecticut State Police with whatever information you have, and it may help them connect something else, or it may help them just look into new instances, or maybe even crack the case wide open. Cases like Connie's can only be solved with the help of the public, and even the smallest piece of information could make a huge difference. So with that being said, if you see something, say something and do something. And as always, please be safe and be vigilant. And if you do see something, say something. You're not snitching. You're not going to get in trouble. You can remain anonymous. It's very important that we look out for each other.